Welcome to Behind the Health Buzz. I'm your host, Mushi, and today we're diving into a topic that has been buzzing all over social media and in conversations about well-being. We're talking about burnout, self-care, and dopamine menus. I'm joined today by one of Canberra's local therapists and certified counselors who has dedicated her career to supporting individuals and families in our community, Amina Carvilis. We have a student co-host as well joining us today. With me is Bushra, Amina's daughter, and who is currently completing her master's in counseling as well. I'm really excited to have this unique daughter-mother dynamic, student-professional perspective as well, which is going to really help out with today's discussion. Amina, would you like to share a little about your background and the kind of work you do?
Yeah, hi Moshi. Thanks for having us on today. I appreciate the opportunity. My name's Amina and I'm a psychotherapist counselor, and my interest is in trauma, and that's where I basically work around trauma presentations and symptoms, and I work with mainly women facing trauma and trauma experiences and help them navigate or treat their symptoms around their trauma experiences.
And what has drew you into that field?
What drew me into that field? Well, I like helping people, and I started earlier on. I was drawn to the counselling profession for those reasons, and I just felt like I had a natural inclination to understand and resonate with that profession and that area of expertise. So I decided to get myself more expertise around how I could go about properly supporting people faced with these trauma presentations and symptoms, and how to help them.
What about you, Bushra? Since you're following in your mother's footsteps in some ways, would you like to tell us a bit about what drew you into the field?
Yes, of course, Mishi. Thanks so much again as well for having us. So my name is Bushra, and I started my journey like mom here at UC with psychology and now counseling. I guess what drew me into the field was my own experience from high school, so from my schooling and even just personal life. And my true inspiration is helping families, their children, so adolescents and families come together and help basically bridge the gap between the older adults, like the families, and their children to help understand each other. Because I've noticed in the past few years, there's been quite a bit of a disconnect. So drawing in on my own experiences and what I went through and helping teenagers out there, young adults, understand that, everything's going to be okay. And there's just a lot of power in just helping people and being there for them and sharing your own experiences. That's what drew me to this field.
Thank you both, Amina and Bushra. I think this is going to be a really uplifting conversation. And many people might not know this, and I just recently found out both Bushra and Amina are UC alumni. So it's really exciting having them back here on campus and having them take part in our discussion for today. Before we jump into all the topics we have prepared and the science behind it, we might do a quick icebreaker. Amina, if you had to choose one small daily ritual that always helps you reset your mood, what would it be?
I have a few, but one that sticks out to me is my daily mantras. And it's my self-talk, like what I tell myself and the messages I give to myself, which helps me to motivate myself into orienting my goals. So yeah, I have some mantras that my self-talk that I tell myself daily, and especially when I'm feeling down, I draw on those mantras, and it just helps me to sort of like reset my motivation and just to keep going. So they really help.
That's really interesting to know. I always hear about affirmations and the importance of self-talk. It will be definitely something that we go into today, and why that would be really important. And Bushra, as a student, what's a go-to strategy that keeps you motivated on tough study days?
That's a very good question. I've learned few strategies, but I guess the number one strategy that I learned is how to be kind to myself and not push myself too much, like just something as simple as just having a short nap or going out for a walk and not being too hard on myself and just accepting that, hey, I've got a hard day here and there. So definitely just be kind to yourself, take it easy, and do what makes you happy. If what makes you happy is going for a walk, going to the gym, or just having a bit of a sleep in, then do it.
I believe that would resonate with a lot of students hearing us today. Definitely important to look out for ourselves, especially when it gets tough with studies.
Exactly.
What we might do is jump into the first topic of the day. So lately we have been seeing dopamine menus everywhere on TikTok and Instagram. Basically, they're little lists of activities you can do to give yourself a healthy boost of joy. So when talking about dopamine menus, Amina, what do you think is resonating about it so much right now?
Well, I'll just quickly give a brief explanation of what a dopamine menu is, just in case, people aren't really sure.
Yeah.
It's a self-care tool or a daily activity list designed to help you intentionally boost your dopamine levels, the brain chemical linked to motivation, pleasure, and reward in a healthy, sustainable way. That's basically what it means. And dopamine, what dopamine is, a neurotransmitter that's generated in the brain. It's a chemical messenger that helps nerve cells in your brain communicate with each other, and it plays a central role in how we think, feel, and behave. So how that would help dopamine, because dopamine, it's like you experience, it's you go after a reward or the pleasure that reward gives you. That's what motivates you to sort of like seek out that, that dopamine rush or that feeling of excitement, through doing enjoyable activities or anything that brings you joy and that you enjoy doing. You get a dopamine rush, and that sort of like should motivate you to keep pursuing that interest or that activity. And it differs with each individual. Like what makes me happy might not make you happy, so it's subjective. What would give you a dopamine rush? Like for me, it's reading a good book. I love it. And once I finish with one really good book, it motivates me to go and seek out the next good book to read. So that's my dopamine. Yep.
Thank you for that explanation about dopamine and dopamine menus.
Mm-hmm.
We always hear about dopamine in terms of being the hormone of happiness. But is the idea of dopamine something central to your counseling practice? Is it something that you usually ask your clients to focus on, or you would recommend?
Yeah. Well, when I work with people, I usually try, like for me, it's like each person's like a puzzle. A person that I have to work out to see what fits for them. So I'll sit with my clients in a few sessions, and I'll try and work out what's the best strategy that would work for them, because like I mentioned earlier, what works for me might not work for someone else. So just take, for example, if I had somebody who likes to read, oh great, that just gives me a good indicator which way I have to move with this person. Yeah, and because if you enjoy something, you're more likely to do it. That's why I sort of like try and assess what would work for my clients. So in this case, if it's reading, then I'd go towards, oh wow, great, So what was the last great book you read? And depends what subject they're interested in. If we have a similar like to certain topics, like mine is the brain, how it works, neuroplasticity. I've read a few good books, and I'd recommend a few good reads, for example. Yeah.
So we're looking at dopamine menus being or discovering things that we enjoy and just bringing them together.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have any tip to make sure that this doesn't just become another to-do list and become something that actually is practical and personal if someone decides to do their own dopamine menu?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, it's better to work when you're working with people to find out what it is that they like or they're passionate about or what brings them joy. And I use the example of myself. I like reading. So And I really, enjoy that. Like I set aside a specific time of the day where after I finish everything I have to do, I look forward to making a nice cup of tea, for example, and reading my book. That brings me joy. So I know that, I'm likely to do it because I like to do that. So when I'm working with my clients, I find out what it is they like to do and I work around that because they're more likely to do it if they enjoy doing it. So it could be sport, could be watching the tennis, it could be going walking. I'll just find out what it is they like and I'll work with that because then they're more likely to pursue doing that activity. And I'll implement that in my my strategy plan, my treatment plan for that particular client. Yeah, I work with what they like doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I guess this is where it becomes important to get professional advice and to work with certified counselors like yourself to have someone to help us find out what we enjoy doing or what could help us and make sure that it is put into a structured list.
Yep.
What about you, Bushra, when it comes to dopamine menus? Let's take it from a student perspective. What would be in your list?
Oh, that's a very good question. Oh dear God. I guess what would be on my dopamine menu list would be definitely a lot of self-care, a lot of relaxation, resting. And as Mom said, you have to find something that will work for you and something that you like to do to encourage you and, to increase the likelihood of you actually doing it. So I think for me, it would definitely just be a lot of rest, honestly. Like, especially from being a student and doing all these assignments, as I'm pretty sure a lot of students could maybe do without, but assignments and exams and quizzes, definitely you need to really take a time out and just do whatever you can to relax, even if it's just taking a nice bubble bath, at the end of the day and just listening to maybe some spa music or putting on a podcast or even just watching a movie, while you relax. So I guess that would be on my dopamine menu.
And when we're talking about relaxing, another topic that comes right up is burnout. What we're trying to prevent with taking care of ourselves and giving ourselves time to relax. And burnout at the moment is hitting record highs, especially amongst Gen Z and young professionals. So recent data from Beyond Blue has shown that half of Australians are experiencing workplace burnout in the past year. And the most people impact are young people. Amina, why do you think burnout is rising so sharply in younger people?
Well, I'll just build on what Bushra said. Burnout is a result of not indulging in enough self-care. Self-care actually charges your battery. And self-care, like some people think, well, it could be for them if it's, having a bubble bath and getting into our massage. If that's your self-care, it's great. But self-care to me is like you really take care of yourself like you would someone you really love and care about. You do that, like you treat yourself, you nourish yourself and you give yourself warmth and love like you would somebody you really care about, but do it for yourself. And that charges your battery. That resets your nervous system. It helps you to be balanced again. I think I can remember when I was studying here that often encourages to, like if we get overwhelmed, like walk away from your computer, your laptop, your assignments, everything, go for a quick walk. It just resets your whole system, gets you back, to balance. You feel energized again, So self-care, that's what self-care is to me, just treating yourself with that tenderness, that love, care, like someone you honestly really love, but do it for yourself. If that makes sense.
Sometimes it might be a bit difficult for young professionals to actively take on self-care. It might be something that it's not easy to find time for. What do you think are some early signs to warn people to watch out for burnout or to start practicing more self-care?
Well, when you become, the brain fog is a classic one that I can think of off the top of my head, and, memory. It's not as sharp. They're quick early warning signs, when you just feel sluggish, your energy drops, you're not as energized or motivated. Yeah. Don't have, you start dipping into not having interest in what you're doing. So that is an indicator your body telling you, hey, slow down a bit, put the brakes on, get out and do something, go out into the garden or do something you enjoy, just to reset yourself again, to get balanced again, to go back into it. Yeah.
And how would you support clients who show up having those symptoms or who are feeling completely drained?
Okay. I would highlight to them that your body is screaming out to you to indulge in some bit of tender loving care for yourself. And just, step back, take a day off if you're working, if you're studying, try and, I know this is really hard, but like I give you an example. I'm suffering from MS, right? And we suffer from fatigue. And the best thing they tell us or they recommend or the specialists recommend is to go and exercise. Now, I tell you, the last thing you want to do when you feel so fatigued is to exercise, but it actually works, Yeah. So when you're feeling, as a student and you're feeling overwhelmed and think, oh my God, I can't do this anymore, I would recommend just to, if you can, ask for an extension.
Okay.
Go and grab a friend, go and watch a movie, experience some joy, and then come back to it and see. You'll be so energized and motivated and ready to go again because you would have charged your battery. Yeah.
I think that's a really important point to seek support when we're feeling that burnout.
Yep.
And stepping out a bit, as you mentioned.
Change your environment. It does help.
It could be difficult sometimes, but from how you explained it, it definitely looks like a good start.
Yep.
And when it comes to young professionals, Bushra, in your circle or around you studying, how do you see burnout manifesting, or if you have any experience with it, what would it look like from a student perspective?
Yeah, well, definitely when I was studying, there was just too much, pressure. There were too many assignments and the due dates were just so close by, which, I understand, why that is because they're trying to fit in, so much work into such little time. But how I've seen it personally show up in my work is too many demands, and not enough empathy, not enough understanding that I'm just, look, I'm a normal human being, just like you, and I've got work just like you. It may not look the same, but but it's certainly we all have work, but I just think in my circle, definitely a lot of societal, cultural, religious, a lot of different pressures coming at us from different angles, and expectation that, we should have our entire life together. We should have everything together. We should have our careers figured out and what have you. So how I've experienced burnout is, as Mom said, I start to get brain fog, forgetting things very easily. Loss of appetite even, which has recently happened to me, where I don't feel like eating anything, even the thought of food makes me feel queasy, not looking after myself, not learning how to say no, which is my biggest advice to, listeners, is really learn how to say no. You're not a mean person if you say no. And even with my friends, they feel like there's too much pressure on them, studying, personal life and what have you, professional. And my advice, is similar to Mom. Just take a step back, recognize you do have support out there and recognize that, it's not the be all or end all. And find your support systems at the University of Canberra and find what you can do to lessen the load. And just don't be too harsh on yourself.
Thank you for highlighting all those things to watch out for. It's very easy to dismiss them. But as both of you have mentioned, the importance of recognizing them and then seeking out support to make sure that we break down that cycle of burnout.
Yeah.
And when hearing all this information about burnout, it brings one really important question to my mind. Can positivity and motivation survive burnout, or do we actually need to reframe the whole idea of just pushing through? I think this would also link us back to the first topic we spoke about today, which are dopamine menus. But instead of just looking at them as fun lists or social media hacks, I want us to explore a bit more about the professional side of this, because while social media often portrays self-care as bubble baths and candles and all those small things, in therapy and counseling, and as you might professionally practice it, self-care can be much more. What would be your thoughts on self-care beyond media trends and the whole pushing through or trying to find shortcuts when it comes to self-care?
Like I mentioned before, you have to find what works for you because you're more likely to pursue it or do it. You know, if you were to come to me and I'll tell you what works for me, just go and do it because that's, been scientifically proven or from whatever. You're not going to do it because it works for me and it might not work for you, So you have to find what works for you, what gives you that burst of dopamine, what gives you that feeling of joy, you know what I mean? And pursue it. Yeah.
And how do you guide clients to build resilience through sustainable self-care rather than aesthetic practices that we might see online a lot?
How I'd get because like having a good sense of self-awareness is very important. You got to sort of like know yourself enough to know what works for you. So what I would do, a strategy that I would try to increase my clients' self-awareness is I get them to write out lists, right? Reflect and do a bit of reflection on the things you like. Like, for example, I'll ask you a question, Amushi, what's your favorite animal, for example?
You got me right on the spot.
What's your favorite animal?
Oh, I guess a lion, usually the highlight of going to the zoo, so I will say that.
A lion. So you resonated with a lion, and why is that? Like, think about the traits or the attributes a lion has.
I guess bravery and bravery and going out there and
like when you reflect those attributes and that animal onto you as a character, as a personality, can you resonate with that?
Yes, in some sense.
Okay, so these are the type of exercises I do with my clients. Like, if you would ask me that question, Michelle, I'd have a completely different response. Like, I would choose a horse.
Okay.
And then the reason why is because they're free-spirited.
Okay.
And they're just so majestic and they're so free and they're so beautiful to watch. And there's something about the horse that I resonate with. I love their free spirit.
That question definitely got me off guard, but it's kind of...
Because they're not usually thinking, we don't usually think about ourselves. We actually operate, the majority of us, we operate from scripts that have given to us from our environment. We've forgotten how to be ourselves. So I usually throw these questions at my client that gets them to think about themselves and what they like, not what other people think that they like and they throw onto us. You got to be this way, you got to think this way, you got to like this. Sometimes you may embrace something, you don't really like it, but you just want to be with the in crowd, you want to be accepted, so you want to like what other people like, even though you don't like it, if that makes sense.
It definitely does, and it kind of brings that self-care should be personal. It should be how what we view would help us.
Yeah.
And it should be personalized to us. That's a really great way of putting it. I'm sure everyone listening will take a moment to think about that question.
That's everyone's homework. What's your favorite animal and why? Yeah.
And does going to get professional support help us or help anyone listening explore what they enjoy or learn more about themselves?
Yes. What I tried to do or strive to do is I like to, because people actually, they know themselves, Mushy. They've just forgotten that they know themselves. So what I do is I provide a mirror and I pull that mirror up and they could hopefully see themselves for the first time. And I just prompt their self-awareness. I just keep, poking at their self-awareness. Look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror. And say, oh my God, that's me. Yes. That's you.
What you said definitely is not something that we would see in TikTok or on Instagram where it's asking you to not just to a fixed dopamine menu, but to make sure that you're doing something true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something we can speak on for a long time because it's really important. Busher, do you see your peers doing that personalized self-care, or do you see them following trends usually?
That's a very good question. From what I've seen on social media, and posted on YouTube, because I'm just a YouTube person who just likes YouTube shorts. Well, look, what I've seen, because a lot of stuff gets posted on YouTube, TikToks, Instagram Reels and stuff like that. What I have seen is people are just they're more interested in what others have to say about them and aesthetics, and they're more interested in getting other people's approval. So from what I'm seeing is they're just viewing his mental health as this very cool, trendy thing, and it's a very serious topic. So like for example, I was like last night I saw this one lady that was doing kitchen restock of all these really expensive stuff that is still in the packet, and yeah, and the comment section was not quite supportive. Like some were like, "Oh, this is so aesthetic. This is so nice." And while that can be quite relaxing, I think what what listeners should really differentiate between is this is just social media. It's just one day in someone's life. You don't know what the next, hours looked like after that video is released. So I definitely notice a lot of people, they just would rather get other people's approval instead of being like, hey, I'm actually not okay. I need to do something that's just for me. And even if that, even if that's switching off social media and looking at, your own dopamine menu, I guess you can say, and looking at, what you really want to do, even if it's not cool, do it. If you really like it, as long as you're safe and you're healthy and you're doing what makes you happy, that's all that matters. And yeah, I personally don't agree with following trends just for aesthetics. Well, that can be kind of cool and nice, but it's not sustainable leading up into the future. It's always best just to stay true to yourself and find out, as Mom said, what works for you, and, find your animal, I guess. Mine is a cat, listeners, just letting you know.
Find your animal.
Is there a reason? Do you resonate with a cat?
Well, what is it about the cat, Bushra, that you love?
Well, look, what I love about cats is that they're very curious creatures. I'm very curious by nature. And you actually have to earn their trust, their respect, and their love. It's not like a dog where it's given. And a cat, what I learned from my own cat at home, Kitty, is you really have to work hard to earn her love, to earn her respect, and to earn her trust. And it's sort of, that's how life is, where you need to earn people's respect. You have to earn their trust. You have to, love is just not given, and cats are free animals. They don't like to be confined. They will go roam around for a few days.
Dependent.
Exactly, but they always come back, and that's me. I'm very independent, but I'll always come back to you. But yeah,
as a cat person, I would support everything you said.
Yeah. Well, lions are big cats,
Oh, they are. See, there you go. They're just one big cat.
One big cat. Yep.
So I guess what we have been going through is that what works for one person might not work for everyone. And we might even try seeing a few of the common things that self-care or positivity trends. And I might get you guys to give it a rating of a yeah or a nah, and any small reasons you might have for them. So let's start with vision boards for motivation.
Definitely.
Yay, for sure.
Seeing is believing.
Oh.
If you can see it, you set a goal, and it's sort of like, this is getting all neuroscience-y, right? If you can see what you're aiming to achieve, like your goal, you're more inclined to reach it. So seeing is believing, definitely. I love vision boards.
And also the brain doesn't know the difference between what is fact and what is fiction. It will just fire the exact same neurons. So as long as you got that vision board, and if you want to be president, honey, you can do it.
Yeah, it helps with setting your goals.
I always knew that they were good, but now that you said that, I'm like, okay, maybe I should go back to my vision board. Let's see what's going on there.
You should.
We'll definitely have a look at it after today's episode. What about gratitude journaling?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
That looks like a maybe from Bushra.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit on the fence for this one, just because, like, yes, it's very important to be grateful. However, it can be tricky when you're in tough times. So I'm gonna say yay and nay at times, but just because I don't like journaling, I think I'd much rather do like sticky notes, like on the mirror of like one positive affirmation. So I think that's one thing I would lean towards.
It's funny you mentioned affirmations, and I guess Amina also mentioned it earlier in the episode.
Yep.
So affirmation in the mirror, writing down your affirmations, reading them every day.
Big yay.
Yeah.
We got the approval for that one. What about morning cold showers?
Oh, that's me.
All right.
I do cold showers. They're so good. They're so good for me because I have MS.
Right.
And cold is is really good for people with, well, for me anyway. And I've read that I wrote this actually down so I don't forget, and I'll tell you exactly why. The science behind cold showers, okay? Cold water therapy stimulates the release of feel-good hormones like endorphins, which are happy hormones, along with neurotransmitters such as dopamine. So when you have a cold shower, it does reset your nervous system, believe me, and it makes you energized, resets your nervous system, and gets you ready to go. Yeah.
I'm gonna say a big fat nay. I'm not with you on this one, Mom.
I guess Bushra is a bit like me. I'm scared of cold water. Maybe is it?
Well, here's the thing. I don't mind cold water in the summer, but here's the thing. For me, I have actually pain in my joints, especially my hands. So I experience a lot of pain, and I need something warm to sort of like, I don't know, I guess soften it. I don't know what's the best way to explain it, but it's a bit weird. It's like in the winter, my hands they feel like they're frozen. I can't move them. And the best way to do, which I like to call defrost my hands, which is get a heat pack and put it on them, and that way that's how I get my hands to get better. But no, I'm very much a nice hot shower kind of girl, and I just love that steam and just the warmth. But yeah, I do love winter though. That's the irony. I love winter over summer, but I hate cold showers.
But you know what? Yeah. Getting back to the biology, it does increase inflammation in your body, the cold water. And it decreases inflammation. And what's the other important thing I wanted to say? I forgot. What were you saying, Bashir? Because I remembered, then I forgot. Sorry. It decreases inflammation.
Yeah.
Yeah. It releases endorphins. And, oh, yes, that's right. When you're feeling cold, and you get in the shower and you have a cold shower, you actually feel warm.
Oh.
Yes,
Bushra, now that's something to think about.
I'm good. I'm still not sold. No, I'm not.
It works.
I'm not warm. No. Look, I'm not discrediting. This is just me personally cannot do it.
Yeah,
I think it's really good that we're getting those different perspectives. That it does have its benefit, and it could also be a preference thing as well.
Yeah.
And I guess that if someone is considering putting in cold showers or any of the other trends we talked about, they can always go to a professional and let them know what they want to try doing. And then this is where they can have such conversations as the one that we're having, where there's a bit of a balance of the benefit and then a bit of would it work for your lifestyle? Would it work for your preferences as well?
But can I just add a little disclaimer? When I did start my cold showers, I started in the summer.
All right.
Okay, to make it easier. And then I started half a minute. I'd have a proper shower and then I'd turn off the hot water. And for half a minute, I'd just let cold water run on in the summer. Okay, and then I just continued through to winter. I wouldn't recommend doing it now. If you've never done it before, go cold shower. Because something might happen.
Yeah. This is probably to all our listeners from Canberra. It's still a bit cold down here.
If you're going to do it, start in summer.
Yes, and don't let it go on your head.
Yeah.
As much as you can, of course.
Yeah.
Well, Amina, thank you so much for joining us. Your insights on building positivity and balance are truly inspiring. And Bushra, it was also fantastic having you as a co-host and getting all those students' perspectives alongside your mom's professional wisdom. And the last question, we might give it to Amina. If you could give one simple practical tip to anyone feeling stuck or unmotivated right now, what would it be?
Definitely, if you feel you can't do it on your own, reach out. There's lots of help out there. I usually just work with women in my practice. So reach out to me, or you can reach out to, I believe UC on campus. They have counselling services for students. So I'll be more than happy to help. There's help everywhere. And we're more than happy to help and support people who are stuck or want to improve.
Yeah, I would concur with that.
Thank you both for being here today and all this fantastic discussion. And also, as a reminder, everything we discussed today is just general information only.
Mm-hmm.
If you're struggling with your mental health or motivation, please seek support from your GP, a counselor, or any qualified professional. And that's it for this episode of Behind the Health Buzz. If you have enjoyed it, share it with a friend who might need a little positivity boost today. And until next time, keep caring for yourself and keep the buzz real.